We are streaming across the world. Fantastic. Okay. So we begin this morning. I'll just start with a very, very quick review from last week. We had talked about the fact that it's a base of the mitzvah of lighting the Shabbat candle, maybe candles, is incumbent upon any man or woman who's in the house. There should be a lit flame in that house. And we talked about that if if a person is in a situation, which we should know of, but it's making decisions, financial decisions between a Shabbos candle and food, to have a little bit of fancier meal. Or you're struggling even just to put any food on the table, you should rather go door to door and right? He said, if you rather go to the store and buy a little bit of oil so you can light a candle and go door to door asking for help to put food on the table. Because without the candle, there's no Oneg Shabbos. The house is dark. And these calculations today may change given that we have indoor lighting the way we have it today. But understand that the point is here that the setting of the house needs to be such that it should be a place where you can enjoy Shabbos and not have accidents of, food. You can't see the food, accidents in passing the food, and other accidents that can happen in the house when there's not proper lighting.
Just ask a question.
Yeah.
So let's say in a situation where there's daylight, right? So, or you have lights in the house, but you're out of luck financially, so you can't afford candles. You still have to get a candle.
Yes, even if you're, yes, right. One, yeah,
well, no, so, yeah, that's what I was saying.
One.
It sounded like when you were summarizing
it. Yeah. Today we still have this mitzvah to light at least the one. There's that minimal. Again, you could sometimes double dip. If I think I mentioned in a previous shiur that if the light bulbs are incandescent light bulbs, they're glowing metal hot. Now it's hard to find that in the house. Then maybe you could double dip and say you could make the bracha and turn that on before Shabbos. Okay. So Sid Gimel begins the following way, and again, as Sidney was alluding to a moment ago, it all depends on how you translate this. You could translate this incorrectly, and this could be a really bad statement. Though this may be an interesting statement, I'm giving you a heads up hint that this is yes. Hanashim Uzaros Bo Yoser. Now this is interesting. This is a mitzvah, and this is still to this day, by the way, the truth. This is still a mitzvah that is very much incumbent more upon on women more than men. That's what it means. Hanashim muzharos bo yoser. They're more, let's say, commanded, because again we talked about a moment ago. Echad anashim v'echad nashim. There's an equal, command, but who is to take charge over making sure that the candles are lit? For Reish Samach Gimel Sif Gimel, it's the women. Why? Because they are more commonly found in the house and dealing with the tzarchei habayis, the needs of the home. It's true. Again, maybe there are families where that has changed, but that's where it comes from, and that's why it's still a tradition today. Whether there's a different breakdown in the house today, whatever, it's still something that is a very uniquely special mitzvah for women. That comes from the Mishnah in Bameh Madlikin. In the second parak of Shabbos, that there are three mitzvot incumbent upon women that if they don't do it, there could be consequences for it. That in the realm of childbirth. Correct. Exactly. And again, I don't. This is the genesis of it. That's okay. I think it's a very special mitzvah for women.
The flip side of this,
yeah.
That's why women on certain positive commandments, they have a break because they have these obligations, right, that they have to fulfill. Is this not one of those that would mean that women, because women are time bound by certain things, right?
Yep. Positive time bound. So yeah. That was last words. Sorry, can you hear the last words?
Since they have an obligation,
Yeah.
and all of those obligations, there's certain, they are cut from a number of positive demands. Right?
Yes,
So I thought maybe this was one of the reasons that that
there's
that they had, right? That they would be that they would have that pass.
On the other ones, you're saying because they have a special, unique role at certain, we give them a pass. It's interesting because the exemption of a mitzvah shazman grama that we say nashrim turos is from a sort of lengthy derivation. It's a Maseches Kiddush. It's a lengthy derivation that really starts with that there's a mitzvah of Talmud Torah that exists upon men that is not necessarily an obligation on women. That doesn't mean there's no mitzvah. A woman studies Torah, a woman does the lulav and esrog, which is a time-bound positive time esrog. There is schar, there's reward for that. There's no one's saying that it's not relevant to them. But I wonder if somewhere that that there's the derivation exists, and again, that may have also created in the sort of the traditional Jewish household going back thousands of years, right? This breakdown of some certain things have to get done, the tzarche habayis, and the man has this obligation. That may be sort of how this. I don't know. I guess that's not just Jewish society, by the way. I guess that was all societies, going back that women had that particular role of mitzuyos habayis, the oskos with tzarche habayis. Yeah, but maybe you're right. Maybe that there's give and take. But it comes on that really comes from a Torah derivation, right? That it says v'limadatzem es b'neichem v'lo b'nosechem, right? Teach your sons, not your daughters, and from there's a derivation that relates to tefillin because tefillin is in that section of the Shema, and then so on and so forth, and it gets to basically learning all positive time-bound mitzvahs. Okay, so that's why there's a special obligation for women, in particular, not obligation. There's a special extra sense that's the mitzvah they should do. And I look at Yud Aleph in the Mishnah Berurah. He tries to spell, well, what's the extra special part of this? If a man is equally obligated, why are they getting first dibs? So he says here, Yud Aleph down below in the Mishnah Berurah. We're on, or it says 70 at the top here. So it's Reish Tam Gimel. Rich is showing you. What if the husband wants to light? I like doing mitzvahs. I want to light also. Ha'isha kodemes. The wife gets first, rights of refusal.
Priority.
She gets priority, exactly. Unless there are many candles. If there are many candles, Mishnah Berurah says here, he can light two. Not a problem. Now, when it comes to the bracha, though, there should only one person makes the bracha. That is something that's added here in my extra biurim v'nosafim, and that really seems to be that there's a minhag here. Rav Eliashib writes about the minhag that the woman should light the candles where the meal is going to be. Those are really the essential candles for the mitzvah because it's lighting up the Shabbos table so everyone can enjoy the Shabbos table, enjoy the food, see the food, nothing bad happens. But as we mentioned before, as part of the mitzvah of Kavod Shabbos, there is a mitzvah to put lights on around the house wherever people are going to be. So he says that the im habal rotze, the husband wants yachol lehader lahadlik acharesh ishto od ner o chashmal b'chadarim acherim. Should go around. He should. You know what? You want to be a part of the mitzvah, right? Then the husband can and light the candles in the other house, the other rooms of the house. Well, yeah, of course. There's no.
He already accepted Shabbos.
She accepted Shabbos. No. So let me clarify. This happens
He's saying he has
every Friday night. I have this, right? My wife will light candles. I drive. No, I drive to shul afterwards. I drive to for mincha. Even a woman who lights candles. I mean, I know when I accept that she can have in mind. I'm not accepting Shabbos. If you're not having that in mind, then the assumption is you accepted Shabbos. But I would actually say that probably, unless everyone in the house will say, okay, guys, candles, everyone's taking on Shabbos. That in my house, the assumption is always like, I'm running out the door in 18 minutes to get to shul for mincha, and so I never have in mind that I'm
in this shul always begins
after candlelighting. After candlelighting, yeah. So, yeah, Simeon, go ahead.
Rob, it seems that if the wife is in the home and she lights candles first, and he follows it because he wants to light candles also,
Yeah.
he does not make a bracha.
Correct. That's what I said before. One bracha per family. Now we'll touch on the question soon of what happens if and I touched on it a little bit in the previous year. What happens when you go? A lot of us around the table. Maybe your kids are coming to you for a Shabbos. I know that when we go visit my mom or we go visit my in-laws. So my wife lights, my mother-in-law will light, my mother will light. Right. So what happens when you have multiple family units that are sharing the same space for Shabbos?
So Rob, what do you do with Minhag HaMakom today, Bihadlokas Neros Chanukah, where our custom is everybody in the house lights Hanukkah candles and makes a bracha?
Right. So that's it. So that is. So we're going to talk about
conflict.
We're gonna talk about that. Does everybody make the bracha like when it comes to Hanukkah candles for an Ashkenazi household?
Okay.
Sephardic household, they don't. Only one person makes the bracha, and only one Chanukiah. Okay, so we'll get there. We'll get to that question shortly. Okay, let's take a look. Let's finish the comments here. The Mishnah Berurah. Ukashi yoledes. Now I had to really do some digging to understand the next few lines, but I think I understand them. Ukashi yoledes, when she has just given birth. B'Shabbos Rishona Madlik Habal Umevarich. And she's not in a state where she can light the candles. So the husband should light the candles and make a bracha. Less, we're on Reish Samach Gimel Sif Katan Yud Aleph. It's at a 70 on the top right-hand corner of the page. So towards the bottom of Mishnah Berurah. So anyway, so when she's just given birth, the first Shabbos, okay, so the husband should light and make a bracha. Right? If for some reason the wife can't light the candles, you should make a bracha. I told you, I said it before. Like when I lived with some guys in an apartment in Washington Heights before I was married, one of us lit the candles. We made a bracha. That's a mitzvah. The house should have the apartment's house should have lights.
What do you think is going on here? Is there a research on
So it's interesting. So in my Biurim and Musafim on the side of this edition, it's brought up here by one of the Achronim, that if she's not able to move so easily, then actually you should bring the candles to her, right? If you could bring it, put it on next to her, wherever she's in the hospital, let's say, or let's say she's home, and she's able to light the candles next to her. That's a nice thing to do. We're going to see in a moment, though, that this may have to, that this comment, I believe, may actually have to do with something different. And that relates to the fact that let's read the next line, and then it'll, I think, make more sense. Because here he says, then he throws in, and the days of when she's having her period, and she's in the nida, she should make the bracha by herself. And you're like, why would you think otherwise, right? What's the Havamina? Sometimes a good question when you're learning Gemara or you're learning anything. What was the Havamina? What was the thought that I needed to even say this? Like, what would I have otherwise thought? So I had to do some digging on this one. I went to the Aruch HaShulchan. I was like, maybe he'll talk about more. So he actually mentions this more, and he talks about the fact that the problem with the Yoledes is not that she's not able to get up. We actually know that women could give birth on a Monday, and the first Shabbos afterwards, it's not so simple. They're walking more gingerly. There are a lot of pain still, right? The uterus is contracting, but they can get up and go light the candles and try to take it easy. But a Yoledes, there's an assumption, and it's true, that there's more continuous bleeding that's happening. And due to the lack of sort of cleanliness due to bleeding, because just in general, when we make brachos, at a very simple level, forgetting mayim achronim for a second, if you're at the end of a meal and your hands are sticky from whatever you're eating, you should not bench or whatever bracha achron. You should go wash your hands. Forgetting the whole issue of mayim achronim. Maybe that's the issue of mayim achronim. That's a separate question. but your hands should not be in a state of, where they're sticky, they're not clean. Lichluch that should be on your face too. If you got schmutz all over your face, before you make a bracha to Hashem, you're gonna talk to the Melech Malchei Amlachim. Clean your hands, clean your face. And there was this assumption that maybe she was in a constant state where she was continuously bleeding. Now, it's interesting though, because by that assumption though, then she wouldn't be making any brachos the whole week, right? If she's eating a sandwich, she shouldn't be saying Hamotzi Lechem min haaretz. Like that, I don't know. I've never heard of anyone say that a woman who just gave birth shouldn't make, a bracha rishona or bracha achrona. But this was the Aruch HaShulchan was bringing this idea up of cleanliness, and so that's why when she's biyamei nidusa, okay, it's not like it's a continuous, like it's a flow that's continuous in the way that after she gives birth, that there is this, consistent bleeding where, again, I had a wife who was giving birth, where there's more, you have to change pads and change, there's a lot more bleeding that happens. So
because of the order of the tumah is higher than birth. It's like 2 weeks. 2 weeks for boys and 4 weeks for
so that's also possible.
It's a longer process of 2 months. That's why maybe it's a higher.
Correct. So Shlomo is also, I think, onto something that Tumas Yoledes exists again 7 days after giving birth to a boy, 14 for a girl, and then by Torah law she should be able to go to the mikveh even if she continues bleeding. And she should be Torah, and the husband and wife should be able to hug and kiss and whatever, and no problem. Today, because of a chumrah that really started post Gemara, a woman doesn't go to the mikvah until she stops bleeding altogether after giving birth. But really, by Torah law, after day 7 or 14, depending on the gender of the baby, she should be able to go to the mikvah. Full stop. And even if she continues bleeding, it shouldn't be an issue. But when it comes to Tumat Nida, so there's, and by the way, by Torah law she gives a korban right after the child is born. There's a korban that's associated with that time period, which is not the case by Nida. So maybe there's something also in terms of Tumah that's going on here that's a little bit different.
They're saying the Shabbos Rishona, first Shabbos, so they're not really talking about 7 days.
Correct. So if we have 14, it would be, if it was a girl, correct, it would be the second Shabbos too. So yeah, fair point. I think I really can come back to what I was talking about before, but I've never heard of such a thing that on the first that after a woman gives birth for X amount of days, like there's no brachos that she said. I've never heard that, and I wouldn't suggest that the woman stop saying brachos. And again, I think if you ask, some of the other achronim, they would say that no, put the candles near her so she can, they're thinking this is more of an issue of moving around. But really, the second line about the nida does lend itself to the other explanation as to why there may have been a thought that she shouldn't light.
But here it says,
what was that? He discounts that. Yeah, he says no, she should light.
He makes the bracha by herself, so she is lighting.
She's lighting in the case of nida. Yeah.
So what does that mean? She makes the bracha by herself. Does that mean the husband would not? The husband never makes a separate bracha.
Right.
The only one bracha.
I think it's not biased. She makes it herself.
Right. But he should not make it. Well, he should not be there.
Look, there's also.
I think she makes it herself, not biased.
Why would that be any different than?
Well, because when she lights normally, that's the point. It's no different than when she's lighting normally.
No, but the husband can make the bracha too. Only one of them makes the bracha, right?
Right.
Yeah, but he's already said that she's put in it.
She has priority. So yeah, the word be'atzma also was driving me a little nuts because you could have just said if you made it, Isha mevarechas, umadleka, something like that,
Is it the normal situation or is this an abnormal situation?
I don't so. Look, just in general with Yemei Nidusa, so when it comes to the days of Nida, there's like this separation of obviously that exists between husband and wife a little bit. Now, there is nothing in my working knowledge of Hilchos Nida, and I learned Hilchos Nida very in depth, that would require her to be lighting candles in a separate way from the husband. There are other things, how even one conducts themselves at the dining room table. Actually, there are some laws about how things may be a little bit different, like passing things to each other. There are things I mentioned about that, but there's nothing about candle lighting per se that you would think that that she's got to be.
Been mentioned there.
It would have been mentioned there. So I'm not sure what to do with the atzma, other than maybe, and we're going to get to this in a moment, that the husband did have an obligation of prepping the candles for her, and making it so that the flame will catch really quickly, right? Getting the candles really getting in a good position.
He's not talking about lighting,
but it's not. Yeah.
It's not clear.
It's not clear, 100%. But I think that, again, just as a matter of practical halacha here, even by the way, I'm just looking here at these comments on the side. I only have them. Actually, Tommy has in his Mishnah Berurah. I think this is Baruch Frankel. He assumes it's about she can't get up from bed. He says, leave the candles next to her bed and she'll light them. He uses the same phrase, by the way, here. This is Rav Elyashiv, that she should light the candles herself. I think herself means and not him. Yeah, and not him. That's what it's.
I think that's what it's.
Yeah, that's he's using it the same way also. That her, not him.
So I think he's teaching us something very important. That is that she cannot impart her tumaness, her state of to being a tumeya to the candles.
That's for sure. That's for sure. There should be no tuma that's being transferred. No tuma. No, yeah, it's 100%. There are some misnomers out there that a woman can touch a sefer Torah and that becomes tameh. That's all. By the way, it's all debunked by the Ramah. This stuff is all by the Rambam. Exactly. Before that, yeah.
I mean, the negative katan, brings up a whole different issue.
Yes. So let's get there. So let's take a look. The Yud Beis. Okay, so why does the woman have a preference to that she gets kadima, first dibs?
Minority, yeah.
So there's another reason. Take a look at Yud Beis. The Otam olam, because she put out the flame of the world. She extinguished the flame of the world. Shegarma misa Adam Harishon. She caused Adam Harishon to sin. She gave him the fruit. She said, "Eat it." And so therefore, death came into the world because of the sin that she brought about. Right? She caused, Adam Harishon to die. Turn the page. This is what I was talking about before. But there's still the husband, even though she gets, preference to light, there is no. He should actually take the initiative and prepare the candles. This that idea comes from that the husband should prepare the candles for the wife. Rabbi Akiva Eger is specifically the medayik in the Mishnah in Babem Madlikin, where he says that it doesn't say al shalosh aveiros nashim mesos v'shas ledasan, and it says al she'enan zehirus banida b'chalu hadlakas haner. Hadlakas haner means lighting the candles. It doesn't say anything with the preparations of the candles, and therefore that's her primary job, is to light the candles, and the husband should take the time to prepare them, and that way also perhaps participating in some ways in the mitzvah that will take place. That it's on him to prepare the candles.
As opposed to the Christian concept, original sin, not third and Judaism.
That what she brought about death in the world. Yeah, look, it's a medrash. It's a medrash. Probably the pshat. It's a medrash. The pshat is what the Shulchan Aruch said, I think, in terms of why she takes priority. But so she because she extends nera adam nishmas adam. Ner something. Sorry. Creating the pasuk, I think it's in Mishlei or something like that. That compares the flame to the soul to the neshama, and since it's in Tehillim, and since she brought about that death, she extinguished the flame of Adam Harishon. Therefore, the woman has to light the candles every week. To what? I'm not exactly sure. What's the end? That's the end of the medrash. Husbands prepare the candles.
There's like there's a partnership there.
That's a beautiful thing. I like the idea of the husband and the wife partnering. That he prepares and she lights. By the way, my Rebbe, I remember my Rebbe was very makbid to prepare the candles in his house. And I said, okay, great. He didn't just prepare them, by the way. And this is mentioned here in my extra comments. He talked about, you should actually light the candle first, then extinguish it, because what happens when you try to light the candle at first? You light a candle, you got to keep the match there for a second, because you got to melt first, whatever, the layer on the wick. So he would actually light the candle first, then blow it out. So when his wife lit the candle, she just went and it was very quick. So it's very well prepared. Yes.
Just a little aside. Shabbat this year. The Rav gave the whole Shabbat drasha on.
Oh, in the shul you were in.
In the shul I was in. So
wow.
There is a concept of original sin.
There you go.
And I hold the spirit on it. One day, Rabbi, you want.
So Tumah has nothing to do with that. It has to do actually with the fact that she's tired and she couldn't, the husband should be in her.
When she just gave birth, you mean?
Right.
That according to some explanation. That's what about, because for her it's difficult to get out of bed. Again, if she gives birth closer to Shabbos, that might actually be more reality. I remember right.
Rabbi, they have a note here that says that she atones for this by bringing light into the world through the Shabbos light.
For what Chava did.
What?
For what Chava did.
For the sin.
Yeah.
Abu Dham Sefer Tefillah Shel Shabbos states that the name Chava is an acronym for Chala, separating a portion of the dough. Visa, Veset
versus Venida, right?
And Halakas there. These three mitzvahs are assigned especially to women as a merit to atone for Chava's sin.
There you go. So it's to make up for the sin that she brought into the world. Wow, Chava, I never knew that. Hey, that's good.
The man is not required to help prepare the challah.
Okay, very good. Yes.
He gives Adam a pass.
He gives Adam a pass. That's the part that I don't like about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's responsible for his own act.
Right, by the way, Tommy points out very well. Where's Adam's responsibility in this whole sin? And by the way, Hashem holds. By the way, Hashem does. God held his feet to the fire. By the way, he was the first one he confronted. He said, "No, what did you just do?" And then he blamed her.
And then over here, this Rav was talking about original sin.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about that.
What the original sin was. It's not what you think of.
It's not right. Okay, all right. Okay, we have to stay tuned for Richie's share on that one. Okay, let's go back out of the Shulchan Aruch. Now we move off this into more. Actually, these are topics that you've definitely heard about before. And now you're going to learn the Shulchan Aruch's approach. If we're on page 70, you go back one page. If you turn the page on the Mishnah Berurah, says back, after the Tzarech Abayis period, the period there. Im ein yado maseges liknos ner l'Shabbos u'lekiddush hayom ner Shabbos kodem. If a person is not able to sort of grasp, like last evening, you don't have the money to buy both a Shabbos candle and the wine for Kiddush. So you're in a quandary. What do I do? So again, we should know such things in terms of our financial situations, but what do I do? So the psak halacha is ner Shabbos kodem. I should rather buy a Shabbos candle and do away with Kiddush Hayom. Now we're going to learn a very important concept in this, because hopefully this is not so relevant to our lives and that we have to make such a choice. But what do we learn from this? Take a look at Yud Gimel in the Mishnah Berurah, ner Shabbos kodem. The Kiddush de Oraisa. We do say that the Kiddush is de Oraisa mitzvah, by the way. And by the way, lighting candles, de Oraisa de Rabbanan.
The Rabbanan.
Simeon says the Rabbanan, he would be correct, right? I heard Steve also. It's the Rabbanan. So it's actually very shocking, because you would think that the Torah mitzvah of making Kiddush, which we learned from Zachor es Yom HaShavas L'Kodsho, right? And Zachor, how do we recall? We recall with our words, right? So I kind of give away the answer in a moment. So even though Kiddush is the Raisa, Mikol Makom Al Hayayin the Rabbanan, to make the Kiddush over the wine is only rabbinic. And he says here, Dimina Torah Yotze Batzfilah, by just saying the words that now it's Shabbos. Right? So you'll say, when you say good Shabbos to somebody, that's already maybe a fulfillment on a Torah level, because it's a verbal zachor is with our words. So as long as with our words we acknowledge it's Shabbos, we're good. So which we'll get to. We'll talk about the mitzvah of Kiddush very soon. We're getting there. And secondly, even if you're saying, well, I do want the wine, because it's nice in there, I can fill the Rabbanan and do my deoraisa with the best, with the wine, make it as beautiful as possible. At the end of the day, you can, if you don't have wine, the Rashbam in his Maseches Pesachim mentions that you can use challah as a substitute if you don't have wine. Now that's, I think, happened maybe to some of them. It hasn't happened yet. This is my married life. But if for some reason you run out of wine and grape juice, nobody realized to buy, you can make the kiddush on the wine on the challah. You'll instead of a bori prekafet, you say moshe lechem and ars, and otherwise it's all the same. And you would obviously wash before you make kiddush.
I've been in households where they do that all the time. It's a yucky.
Yeah.
Where they don't make it the house.
I've actually
100%.
I've actually seen them wash,
Make the blessing on the wine and then make the blessing on the challah all at once.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, my brother-in-law does that. Yeah, so I'll tell you where that comes from. It comes from it's one of the Bali Atosis things. It's Rabbeinu Ephraim mentions that practice, and the reason is because you want to have you want to have as little of a hefsek between Kiddush and Hamotzi, and you want to sanctify the meal and go right into the meal. And they're yakis. So, it's I saved us 3 or 4 minutes there. But that comes from, there's a halachic concept for that. That was an accepted minhag in the German Jewish community. Yeah.
There's a connection between
Kiddush Makom Suda, right? You go right into the Suda. You make the Kiddush, you go right into eating the meal. 100%. There are actually a lot of good reasons to do it. Again, as I mentioned, my brother-in-law is from the Yeki, the Yeki family, and the first time we ate a meal by them, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know. I didn't know you were Yeki. So we watched first.
Speak after washing is to avoid separating the washing from making.
Correct. It all has to do with the hefsek and correct. That's on Friday night. Yeah.
You shouldn't adopt it as
Yeah, correct. I think it's just really the just the German Jews who are still practicing this.
I don't know how they handle this
now
on a Friday.
Right. Take a look, everybody, at the next part of the Shulchan Aruch. He says that next part of the Shulchan Aruch. What if you don't have enough money to buy a Shabbos candle or a Hanukkah candle? And I want to be very medayik in the word here, ner and ner. Didn't say neros. Yeah. Important to notice, first of all, one Shabbos candle is really by letter law the minimum. And by the letter law for Hanukkah candles, what's the minimum?
One.
Ner, right, ner, right, ish ubeison. Any night of Hanukkah, one candle is enough. If for some reason you find yourself stranded in the middle of no man's land on a night of Hanukkah, you find yourself a candle, that's all you need. And you can say the bracha too. You don't have to, you should never get no such things. Don't find yourself
every night.
There's no shamash. You don't need a shamash.
What?
You don't need a shamash. If you have artificial lighting in your room, if you're like a hotel suddenly somewhere, you don't need a shamash. If you're really in a desperate situation,
to light the candle.
A match, just something to light the candle. A match. That's it. And then you're done. You don't need anything more than that. Now, he says here, Ner Shabbos Kodem. Can't afford a Ner Shabbos or a Ner Chanukah, go buy the Ner Shabbos. Okay? Bishum Shalom Bayis. Because of peace in the home. The Ein Shalom Bayis below Ner. There is no peace in the home without lights. And he take a look at Yudalad in the Mishnah Berurah. Bishum Shalom Bayis. V'im yesh lo Ner Echad. Sagi. If you have one Shabbos candle, enough. V'yotzi Hamosar L'Kiddush or Ner Chanukah. Then you can start spending on other things. Right, one Shabbos candle, then go buy your Kiddush wine, then go buy your Hanukkah candles. By the way, ner, all you need is one. If you can't afford, let's say it's right. That's what he says here. Actually, I don't want to take his words. Let him say it. Let's say it's a Friday night on Hanukkah. And you have one candle for Shabbos. I have one candle for Hanukkah, no matter what night of Hanukkah it is. Maos, and you have a little leftover money. Near Eli, the Tovios, Eliknos, Od Neros Chanukah, Lios Mina Mahadrin. Now comes the question: do I buy more Hanukkah candles, or do I buy the Kiddush wine? And he says,
or
better
another candle for Shabbos.
Or another. Oh, you think maybe that's the candle? That's the comparison here. Okay, so let's say you have. Okay, maybe Richie's right. Okay, I when I was preparing this, I think I read it the wrong way. Let's say you have one candle for Shabbos and one candle for Hanukkah. Now the question is, do I add a second Shabbos candle or do I add more Hanukkah candles? So he says here, seems to him better to add Hanukkah candles because when it comes to Hanukkah candles, right, let's back up. When it comes to Shabbos candles, there's no discussion in the Gemara except for Ner Shabbos, candle. When it comes to Hanukkah, in the Gemara, there's already a built-in concept of different levels of how to fulfill the mitzvah on a very basic level. One candle every night of Hanukkah. Mahadrin is one candle per person in the household. So you're a family of 3 on the 5th night of Hanukkah. I'm passing by your house. I'll see 3 candles in the window. So try to go up to the Mahadrin level. Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin is what we do, right? You light, per night of Hanukkah, you add a light. We follow Beis Hillel.
Ascending.
Right, which is ascending, right? Beis Shammai has a descending order on this one. But and then forgetting the whole question of do we follow like Tosos? So the Rambam, multiple Chanuki, multiple lights per person, or one per family. That it seems though you should add more Hanukkah candles to the ability that you can. The Mazar writes the following: the Isha Suma, a woman is blind. That's a big question. This is not to be discriminating against a blind person, but the idea that you make the bracha on Shabbos candles because you get a benefit from it, that it provides you light. If you're not getting any hana from it, that's why it's a big question. You're going to light Shabbos candles, and then you're going to disappear the whole night, and you didn't really get any benefit from it. And by the time you get back, the candles are out. It's a big question: can you make the bracha or not? You're going to light it in your house, and you're going to eat somewhere else. You're not going to even be back in time when the Shabbos candles are still on. It's a big question. We'll get there. We'll talk about that question. But here, she for sure will never see the whole night. It's a good question. Maybe I'll come back and the candles will still be on. I'll still get benefit from them. Or I try to benefit from them right when I light them and I enjoy that. And then I walk to the person's house that I'm going to eat at.
Shouldn't it be a blind couple?
Because
he can buy it. It's the husband sees, the husband will benefit from reading at night. So it would need the husband also. No one will benefit from the light she's lighting. And it's sort of like a bracha about the whole.
If the husband's blind too. So good. So what exactly? Look what he says here. So she can still make the bracha on the narrow Shabbos, and she should light it and make the bracha. Why? He says here, because she also does benefit from the light. Now, how does she do it? I had my extra commentary here. But I talk about this, and Karlitz mentions, why? Because others can see and help her, right? The husband can see and help her. The children can see and help her. And by the fact that there's light, she is benefiting because others can help her. It is also interesting, by the way, that there are people that are blind. And I'm not an expert. I really am not. Maybe there are people around here who are have more expertise in this. But even people that are blind do have some sense of
blindness.
There are different kinds. There are different kinds of blindness, right? They can sometimes sense certain light, even if they can't sort of see the light. And now, I don't know if that's helpful or not. I don't know, but there is something to be said for that. But at the very basic level, if there are other people in the house, for sure, they're benefiting, and therefore there's what to talk about.
Excuse me, Rob,
yes.
It's a very valid question when you realize that when a woman lights candles, she lights the candles before Shabbos, so she's lighting the candles, and she immediately covers her eyes and doesn't connect to the light of the candles till after the bracha. She uncovers her eyes. And here the stuma cannot accomplish that.
Right. Correct. There's no hana from when she uncovers her eyes. She looks at the candles. I mean, Derech Hana could also be simply like, wow, it's beautiful. I'm enjoying. I look at the candles for a few moments, and I get a Hana of seeing the candles. You go, but I have 10,000 light bulbs in the room, or equivalent of 10,000 candles when I have the lights overhead. But you still benefit from them. They're beautiful candles. We talked about the idea of making the candles beautiful. They should be nice candelabra if you have the opportunity to do that. Yes, but she doesn't have that basuma. So that's why the question, and therefore she can. But we say that she still can because she has family and those around her. But look what it says here: Umihu im yesh la baal shehu pikeach, hu yivarech. Does say here, and this is an interesting question because it seems to be contradicted by what I was reading before. If the husband is a pikeach, meaning he has a sound mind, sharp, is a regular guy, he's got his marbles together in his brain, so he should make the bracha. Sounds like she should light it, maybe, but he should make the bracha because he'll benefit from it. Now, we mentioned a moment ago, though, that since others, if there are others there, that there are some Carlos of the opinion that there are others there, then she can make the bracha. And Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach goes as far as saying the following. I don't have this here. I have it here. Even if she's by herself, a blind woman by herself in her apartment, and she was able to successfully light, she can still make the bracha. Says Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Why? Because of that. That way, some people can come visit her, and they can help her and use the lights in her apartment to help, and assist her in whatever way. So you see here already a very lenient approach by some of the 20th century poskim that don't want to take this mitzvah away from somebody, and that she should light, she should make the bracha. And yes, I see the Mishnah Berurah here saying that if the husband is more than capable of, he should make the bracha. It sounds like she should light, he makes the bracha. My sense from looking at some of the other halachic opinions of later authorities is that she should make the bracha no matter what, even if she's by herself, because someone could come and benefit from those lights. And I think part of that is also a little bit of a psychological piece here. Take a mitzvah away from somebody who's blind. Again, they could be blind from birth, so they never had that sight. But it feels really yucky to tell a blind woman like you can't participate in this mitzvah that Kimat every other Jewish woman is participating in, but you can't.
You spell that with a kuf or a kaf?
Yeah, I think there's an aleph. It's a yud. Aleph kuf, you have to add like ksuba, you're a lot of olives in there. Yucky. Yeah. So I think that maybe somewhere where else is this coming from. Mishnah Berurah finishes up and says, V'im ochelas v'shulchan me'acharim acherim sheberchu v'hidliku lo tevarech daha ikar hatam shekulam mevarchim mishum simcha yiserad sheyesh al yedei hariboy haneros kamo shekasu b'sifcha as v'ha leka simcha gaba. And what if this blind woman is eating at a table where others have already lit? They made a bracha, they already lit. The Mishnah Berurah suggests here that she shouldn't make a bracha. She doesn't say that don't light, says don't make a bracha, because at the end of the day, the ikar reason for lighting is because there's a simcha, and even if multiple people, here again, this is the question of what happens when the mother is there, the daughter is there, and she's got her own family, and yes, they all light. It sounds like, by the way, I guess they all make a bracha, even though they're all, in the same place and space. But what about the blind woman? So she should light, but she shouldn't make the bracha, because the whole thing here about the mitzvah is that the additional light gives additional simcha. There's a ribui simcha. I'm sorry, there's an extra simcha yisera with the ribui haneros. But for her, she's blind. There's no simcha, there's no additional simcha that exists for her, even if you want to say, I think maybe he's claiming, even if you want to say, well, others can help her with the lights, but there's already lights. And the extra lights of more people lighting is about added simcha, but for her, she's not experiencing that added simcha. I've never been asked such a shaila before. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I'd be so quick to jump to this Mishnah Berurah as the psak halacha. I would definitely be asking, a question before I would.
The fact of doing
100%.
The fact of doing it is the simple.
Yeah, correct. I think today also there's so much. It's a very special mitzvah for women. I acknowledge that. I think it's a very special moment. There are tefillos that are said at that time, and I think to be to putting. I think that it's kedai lismoch al the mekilim here. Again, you have Rosh Zalman Auerbach who's saying that a blind woman who's by herself can make the bracha. Alachas kama v'kama, she's lighting, and there's other people in the room, and I would think that there's yesh ami lismoch. Again, not me. Don't rely on me. Rosh Zalman Auerbach is a gadol ador of his. Was a gadol ador of his generation. I think one has to be very careful to be machmir in this situation. Sometimes, you need. My Rebbe was always very fond of saying that there are four halakim of Shulchan Aruch, but actually there was a fifth one, and that's sometimes common sense has to also judge and guide your, which sometimes doesn't always guide. If you just read the words, and again, you have to stay within the framework of halacha. I'm not coming here suggesting we can go outside those bounds, but look, you have Rosh Hashanah Auerbach who's saying this. It's not coming from nowhere. Okay.
Rav.
One last. Oh yes, right, Simeon. Yeah.
The use of the word simcha really has me a little befuddled. If he uses the word simcha, we know that relates to Yom Tov.
Yes, I think I just heard Bruce under his breath mutter, "Oneg is."
Yes.
Oneg is more associated with Shabbos, like it says in the 58th chapter of Yeshayahu, "B'karata Shabbos Oneg," that you should call the Shabbos a delight, and that's where the origins of that mitzvah come from, of Oneg Shabbos, of delighting in the Shabbos. And here it talks about the Shum Simcha Yisera, the additional joy. I don't want to say that he didn't mean to write the word Simcha, but I would say that we should think of that term more synonymous with Oneg Shabbos. That I'm enjoying. It's giving me additional joy and happiness. That there's more light. It's beautiful. It's the display in some ways. When you have so many candles that are being lit, you don't need the extra candles at that point for the light. It's really for the beautiful, display that it is, the atmosphere, the ambiance that's set by the candles. So I hear what you're talking about with the simcha aspect. I don't have the perfect answer for you though. I'm just I'm being honest. I would say think of it more like owning.
Whoa.
I admit when I don't know. Okay. Last point in the Mishnah Berurah, in the Shulchan Aruch, which really seems to be the Ramah through this in here. The Ramah doesn't say Hagaz. It seems to be some.
It could have been the editor.
Could have been the editors, 100%. So they say it says here what happens if you don't have enough money you can only choose to buy yayin lekiddush, it's Friday night, Chanukah, or to buy a Chanukah candle. So he holds you in suspense. Ayin lekaman siman taf reish ayin ches. He says, go, now we're on Siman 263. You have to learn all the way till 678 to find your answer. But I'll cheat for everybody here. Hanukkah, you can also do. We should know such things. He says here, is it? 678. All right. Very short simon. Which we have here. So let's say you dealt with Shabbos candle. I had enough for Shabbos candle. Now good. Next question is, I only have enough now to buy either a Hanukkah candle or yayin for Kiddush. So I buy the Hanukkah candle because of Pirsumei Nisa. So better to make the Kiddush on the Challah, or use our own words to fulfill the mitzvah of Kiddush, and better to get the Hanukkah candles because of the publicizing of the miracle. And the same halacha says here, the Rama adds in, better to have a Hanukkah candle than one Havdalah with your words, which is what we do every week in Shmona Esrei. We say Havdalah with our words in the fourth bracha of Shmona Esrei. Okay, we'll stop here. Shkoyach to everybody. We'll continue with Sif Dalet next time, which gets into the question of how early can you light Shabbos candles? Not a question that you guys have? No? Never? How early can you light Shabbos candles? Take care. Have a good day, everybody.